Let me start off by just expressing my complete acknowledgement for the work that is being done, has been done, will be done by the several members, not just of the Ministry of Labour and Social Security, but of our extended partners across government, our volunteers, private sector, international, local, diaspora, all who have joined with my Chief Technical Director, Audrey Dare Williams, who is here, and Permanent Secretary, to allow for us to have the most effective team on the ground that we have ever had in the history of this nation. This is the first time that we can report actually meeting, well, we've never had a Category 5 and never had something of this intensity, so we've never been confronted with it. But in terms of the time that we have taken and the effectiveness, when we compare to what we did in Beryl, when we compare across the Caribbean and across the developed world as well, I must tell you that I'm very proud to say that Jamaica is and will continue to be world leading, as has been said by the World Bank. Based on the reports, we are now past 70,000 assessments being done, 70,000 household assessments, as at January 9th, because we're processing and assessing at the same time. So let's go back to the 9th when we had the exact figures. That was 69,085. And so we are way past the 70,000, which I want to put that in the context that in the last 2 weeks, we have been affected by rain, which means that we've lost some of those assessment days, at least 4 days in those parishes based on consistent rain. And it speaks well to the coordination and to the determination of the team, many of whom have been sending me directly their pictures to show that despite, unless the rain is heavy, they're out there in their raincoats with their umbrellas continuing the assessments. So the Ministry of Labour and Social Security is proud to be leading the group that has moved us further up the ladder in terms of the need for us to complete our assessments. Now, when we do the assessments, it is 5 categories that our assessors record: no damage, no significant damage, minor damage, major damage, and then severe. Of course, the persons who have no damage and no significant damage, they are considered, because many of them do get benefit in the form of food packages or other support. But in terms of the cash grant to rebuild, they will not benefit from that because they have no need to. So we focus from those 5 categories down to the top 3, minor, major, and severe. And the percentages so far are 37% in terms of the minor, 35, is it CTD, for the major, and 16. I hope that adds to 100. You can, yes. Well, the rest are in the other 2 categories. Yes, yes. All right, and 16%. So it gives you a ratio. We were saying at first 40, 40, 20, but we did expect for the most severe to taper down because those were the ones that we prioritized and those are the assessments that were done first. So at this point, we have completed most, if not all, of those, and therefore we anticipate that the remainder 20,000 or so assessments to be done will be in the minor category primarily and some in the major. I want to just make mention of the partnership that we have also. In terms of assessors, before I move on from the assessment, we are now past 700 assessors that have been trained, certified, and are on the ground in varying ways. And so we continue to expand and to welcome any volunteers who would like to help. Moving quickly to our partners. The World Food Programme has a food assistance, cash support, and national delivery initiative, and they have been our strong partners way before Hurricane Melissa. In Hurricane Beryl, we benefited from their support in terms of cash grants that were coupled with the Rebuild Jamaica grants that were given out. And we want to acknowledge them for their strong support. They also assisted us in terms of upgrading our JH Diner Light form, which is the digital form that we use now to collect the data that our assessors are using with the devices. That allows us to have the real-time uploads. And I want to just advise the country that they have completed their in-kind food distribution phase. And as at the 8th of January 2026, approximately 98,000 food kits were distributed from the World Food Program. I think that deserves a clap. Yes. And I want to tell you, nearly 6 million meals from the World Central Kitchen and reaching more than 130,000 unique beneficiaries across the severely impacted parishes. Importantly, we are now transitioning to the more cash-based assistance, because recovery is not only about receiving food, as you know, it's also about giving the families the dignity and the flexibility to meet their immediate needs as they work to restore normal life. So the World Food Program, who has been one of our major members of the Humanitarian Assistance Committee, launched in December 18th to be exact, their partnership with the ministry, where 10,047 persons have benefited so far. And their goal is to meet the needs of 16,000 households, up to 50,000 individuals, with each household getting 2 cycles of $34,000 grant to them. And that's a big support that we do appreciate, and we want to acknowledge them for that. Of course, they use our assessment list as the basis upon which they choose the beneficiaries, and many of the other partners rely on the Ministry of Labour and Social Security's assessments to determine who they will target in terms of persons who have vulnerabilities. And for the World Food Program, they target the senior citizens, persons with disabilities, and of course, families that are in need. This support is being delivered through established payment infrastructure, including one of the national agent networks that we have, one of the remittance agents. And we also welcome the accountability mechanisms that they have put in place, including an active feedback system and a monitoring in the community and at the redemption sites. Now, beyond the household support, they have also strengthened their national delivery through having a common logistics services, including transport and storage for relief items. So if you have ever volunteered and gone to some of the shelters, you would have seen these massive white units outside of the larger shelters, and that's all based on our partnership with the World Food Program. And we move essential supplies there so that they're in close proximity to those that need them the most. They've also helped us with emergency telecommunications, so very critical support, and we want to thank them for that assistance. I want to move on quickly, Minister, just 2 more points in relation to UNICEF. UNICEF is supporting the government through the Ministry of Labour and Social Security to strengthen the shock-responsive social protection, particularly for children and vulnerable households. And this includes support towards an emergency multi-purpose cash top-up for vulnerable households with children. Now, this support is targeted and it is deliberate, and the initiative aims to reach 40,000 children, including children who are on PATH or in PATH households, with specific focus on those households that have pregnant and lactating women, children under 6, and children with disabilities, along with expanding the coverage to an additional 1,000 children in the disaster-affected households. So, equally important, UNICEF support is not only immediate assistance. They help us in terms of strengthening the system so that our future response is faster, continues to be fair, and transparent. And so we want to acknowledge them and thank them for the support. And just to indicate that in terms of the disability inclusion, UNICEF is also working with us, working with the Jamaica Council for Persons with Disabilities, with a digital voucher mechanism embedded in our I Am Able JCPD app. So we're modernizing the processes and allowing for not just efficiency but accountability. And this is designed now to reach our children with disabilities and their families. And there is, of course, the potential to scale this up to wider registered population. Let me wind down by referring to what the minister had indicated in terms of what's happening tomorrow. So tomorrow, the Prime Minister will lead in our launch of the Shelter Recovery Program. What is that? I've never heard of it. Yeah, the SRP, another acronym for you to remember. Yes. The Shelter Recovery Program will be the overarching, the umbrella program for all of the components relating to the provision of support for the impacted households in terms of their restoration, particular to the reconstruction and to rehabilitation. And you're going to hear more tomorrow. I will speak, Prime Minister will speak, and of course this program is another one of the government's strategic, structured, deliberate approaches to providing emergency relief and recovery following Hurricane Melissa, with more information to come. Just to place on record the government's sincere thanks to the World Central Kitchen. I don't know, yes. Well, I know that at many of the press briefings it has been acknowledged, but we use every opportunity because millions, not just hot meals, but the provision of employment and just the support that has been given from the World Central Kitchen is remarkable. And their rapid support helped in terms of meeting the immediate needs in communities that were under pressure. And we want to tell them that we appreciate their partnership. I know the Prime Minister does. He personally had spoken to me about it. So on behalf of the government, we want to say thank you to the World Central Kitchen. In closing, remember that recovery is not a single action or any single check that you receive. It's a process. It's about stable